One of the biggest thieves of happiness in our lives is the habit of comparing ourselves to others. We often look at someone else and think, why are they so successful, so fast, or so rich, while I am still here? We look at their stage and compare it to our backstage, forgetting that every person is walking a completely different road. If a bird tries to swim like a shark, it will spend its whole life feeling like a failure, even though it can fly across the wide blue sky. In today's world, with so many ways to see how others are living, this feeling of not being enough has become a heavy weight for many of us. We see a picture of someone's success, and suddenly our own life feels small and unimportant. This way of thinking slowly drains our energy and makes us lose sight of our own special talents. That is why today's story is for anyone who has ever felt like they are falling behind, or that they will never be as good as the person next to them. Listen closely to every word, because the lesson in this story might be the very thing you need to hear to change your life forever. In a beautiful town built on the side of a green hill, there lived a young man named Logan. He was a very hard-working and kind person who spent his days in a small shop making and fixing shoes. Logan was good at his job. His hands were strong, and he knew how to use a needle and thread better than anyone in the area. But despite his talent, Logan was not a happy man. Every day, as he sat by his window working on a pair of leather boots, he would watch the people passing by. He would see his friend Marcus, who was the town's mail carrier. Marcus was incredibly fast. He could run from one side of the town to the other in a very short time, delivering letters with a bright smile. Logan would look at his own dusty hands and think, I wish I were as fast and energetic as Marcus. All I do is sit here and look at people's feet. My life is so slow and boring. Then he would see Julian, a young man from a wealthy family who always wore the finest silk clothes and traveled in a beautiful carriage. Julian didn't have to work a day in his life and spent his time at fancy parties. Logan would sigh and think, I wish I had as many gold coins as Julian. If I were rich like him, I wouldn't have to work in this hot shop all day. These thoughts began to eat away at Logan's heart. He started to lose interest in his craft. Instead of making sturdy, reliable shoes, he began to rush his work because he was too busy dreaming of being someone else. He even tried to change his life to match theirs. He spent all his savings on expensive materials to make a pair of fancy silk shoes, hoping to look like Julian. But the townspeople were simple workers, and nobody wanted to buy them. Then, he tried to run as fast as Marcus, leaving his shop early to practice, but he only ended up with sore legs and a very tired body. Because he wasn't focusing on his own shop, his business began to fail. People stopped coming to him because his shoes were no longer comfortable. Logan felt like a complete failure. He sat in his quiet shop, surrounded by unfinished work, feeling like he would never be successful or happy. One day, an old man named Mr. Bennett came into the shop. Mr. Bennett was a retired shoemaker who was known for his wisdom. He saw Logan's sad face and the messy shop and asked, "What is bothering you, son? Your eyes look like they are carrying a heavy burden." Logan spilled his heart out. He told Mr. Bennett how he felt small compared to Marcus's speed and Julian's wealth. He said, "I feel like I'm wasting my life in this little shop while everyone else is doing great things. I'll never be as good as them." Mr. Bennet listened patiently and then smiled. He didn't give advice right away. Instead, he said, "Logan, I live in that small cabin on the very top of the hill. Come visit me tomorrow morning. I have something to show you." The next morning, Logan walked a long way up the steep path to Mr. Bennet's cabin. When he arrived, the old man was standing outside with two very different pairs of shoes. One pair was a set of light, thin racing flats, the kind a professional runner might use on a smooth track. The other pair was a set of heavy, thick leather boots with iron toes, built for the toughest mountain work. Mr. Bennet handed Logan the light racing shoes and said, "Put these on. I want you to climb that rocky cliff behind my house and bring me a handful of the red berries that grow at the top." Logan put on the light shoes and started to climb, but the rocks were sharp and jagged. The thin soles of the shoes offered no protection, and every step was painful. He slipped and slid, and his feet were soon covered in scratches. He had to give up and come back down, then handed him the heavy iron-toed boots. "Now," the old man said, "I want you to take these and run as fast as you can down to the flat meadow at the bottom of the hill and back up again." Logan put on the heavy boots and started to run. But the boots were so heavy that his legs felt like lead. He couldn't move quickly at all. By the time he got halfway down, he was gasping for air and his muscles were burning. He returned to the cabin, exhausted and confused. "Mr. Bennet," Logan said, "this doesn't make sense. These light shoes are terrible for the rocks, and these heavy boots are terrible for running. They are both useless." Mr. Bennet laughed softly and shook his head. "No, Logan, they are not useless. They are simply made for different paths. The light shoe is a masterpiece on a smooth road, but a failure on a rocky mountain. The heavy boot is a lifesaver in the forest or the mine, but a burden on a racetrack. Now tell me, is the light shoe better than the heavy boot?" Logan thought for a moment and replied, "No, it depends on where you're going." Mr. Bennet nodded and said, "Exactly. And yet, you have been spending your life trying to wear Marcus's running shoes and Julian's silk slippers while you're standing on your own unique path. Marcus has the strength to move fast, and that is his gift. Julian has wealth, and that is his situation. But you, Logan, you have the gift of the craft. You provide the foundation for everyone else's journey. Without your shoes, Marcus couldn't run, and Julian couldn't walk through the town. Your path is not theirs, and theirs is not yours." Logan looked down at his hands. For the first time in a long time, he didn't see them as dusty or tired. He saw them as tools for a special purpose. He realized that by comparing his life to theirs, he was like a shoe trying to be a hat. It just didn't fit. He thanked Mr. Bennet and went back to his shop with a new fire in his soul. He stopped watching the window and started focusing on the leather in front of him. He began to listen to his customers, making shoes that fit their feet perfectly and supported them on their specific journeys. Slowly, word spread that Logan's shoes were the best in the land. His shop became busy again, not because he was the fastest or the richest, but because he was the best version of himself. He found peace in his work and joy in his own progress. Years later, Logan's shop had grown, and people came from far away just to have a pair of his handmade boots. He was successful, respected, and most importantly, happy. When young people came to him feeling discouraged because they weren't as successful as their friends, Logan would tell them the story of the shoes. He would say, Never let someone else's success make you feel like a failure. We all have a different mountain to climb and a different road to walk. If you spend your time wishing you had someone else's shoes, you will never appreciate the ones you are wearing, and you will certainly never reach your own destination. Focus on your own steps. Make them firm. Make them true. That is the only way to win the race that actually matters. This lesson is something we all need to carry with us every single day. In our modern lives, it is so easy to scroll through our phones and feel like we are falling behind. But remember, social media only shows you the highlight reel of someone's life, not the hard work, the failures, or the struggles they face behind the scenes. Your life has its own timing, its own rhythm, and its own unique purpose. Comparing your Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 20 will only lead to sadness. Instead, take that energy and put it into your own craft, your own health, and your own goals. When you stop looking sideways at what others are doing, you finally have the focus to move forward. You're the only person who can walk your path, so walk it with pride and confidence. If you focus on being better than you were yesterday, rather than being better than someone else, you will find a level of success and peace that no one can take away from you. Every flower blooms in its own time, and you will too. If this story touched your heart and gave you a new perspective, please give it a like and share it with someone who might be feeling a bit lost today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss these daily reminders to stay focused on your own beautiful journey. See you in the next story.